What is up, everyone? It is Lovenji Gaming here, and I am more than happy to be back and finally finishing off this Command & Conquer series for you all. It's been quite a journey these past couple of months, but I'm happy to say that I am not only back, but I am fighting fit and ready to carry on making content. So I appreciate you all sticking with me and your patience. So we're going to be clearing off the GDI missions today. We'll be doing GDI PSX 03 and the Pat Sucks missions. Pat Sucks is a bonus mission, a bit of an inside joke, and it features some very special units. But I'll talk about that in the Pat Sucks video. GDI Mission 3 is my favourite of the PSX missions, and of course PSX was the original version of the game that I actually owned, so it's one that I have quite an affinity to. Anyway, without further ado, let's get this underway. So of course, this is GDI PSX 03, as I did mention in the introduction of the video. Now, this level in particular is really quite something, and I mentioned that I have an affinity for it, that it was my favourite level, and although you're going to see me play the start very slowly, the reason this was my favourite level is it's actually the only GDI PSX mission where you get to build a base. Now, as a child, I hated pre-deployed missions, and you've seen from PSX 01 and PSX 02 that both of those are pre-deployed missions where you don't get to build a base. And so, of course, you can imagine little Lovenji Gaming absolutely bored out of his mind, and also, I wasn't the brightest child, so I couldn't do the levels half the time. I had to cheat, and the cheats on the PSX version were varying directions followed by like X square triangle, triangle square circle, stuff like that. I don't remember them off the top of my head. It's been years since I've had to enter a cheat code into a game, but I very vividly remember doing exactly that. So the strategy here is to proceed rather slowly. You can do some more aggressive plays and just like yeet your entire army into their base, but I prefer not to do that. You can actually see I'm controlling my army quite slowly, and watching it back I'm a bit like, why am I that slow? Don't need to be that slow, but you want to get your engineers out and you want to get them into the silos. I was very concerned that that engineer was going to do, that flamethrower was going to do a drive-by shot on the engineer, as the AI is wont to do. When you capture a silo, you take its money, and that's a good way to fund your army. So you're going to capture both those silos and then capture the refinery, and that sets up your income. You only get 2,000 from the box, and that is not enough to build your power plant and then your refinery, of course. So you kind of have to plan out your engineers in that way, and try not to lose any engineers as well, because your funds are very limited. Now, I don't have many units left after the initial pushing, but you want to take over the SAM sites, because as you can see there are some Chinooks there, which are absolutely going to be instrumental for us. We're going to be using Chinooks in part of our attack. But you basically take control of the Nod base, relinquish them of their funds, and establish your own base, sort of tucked away in this corner. I quite like. Now, there's different ways to do that, but of course I'm just going for how I've always done it. Second refinery to get the economy up and rolling. And also, because we lose the silos, it's important when you capture the silos to spend the money as quickly as possible, of course. Because if the silo gets destroyed and you don't have storage for it, you probably heard her say silos needed. That's what happens, you lose that money, it disappears into the nether. So the church, as is always a common trope for the early Command & Conquer games, is hiding a box of money. So we're going to go secure that box of money and start training a couple of rockets to help us take out these SAM sites. Otherwise we're going to be here forever. Taking them out slowly is being done deliberately. Of course the AI does have money, and it does actually spend real money, it doesn't just cheat. So we're forcing it to eat through its funds by continuously attacking it in a way that's making it repair. Now, of course, you might have just caught there, the Hand of Nod is now producing units, so that was my key, to be producing base defenses. The Hand of Nod doesn't produce for a while, but eventually the AI for it activates and it will start pumping out troops. It's not normally a problem, it's normally quite handleable. Again, just put down an AGT near the Hand of Nod. You can get the AGT to actually take out the Hand of Nod and then any troops that it has built. Of course, the downside, we've lost our units now. Badly managed tanks means we've lost the tanks, so we're just going to pull the harvesters back and we're going to try and shore up our defences, for lack of a better word. And get quite campy now. This is a very annoying playstyle, but it's very reminiscent of how I used to play this game as a child. Just do whatever I feel like. Getting the harvesters onto the safe Tiberian field will give me more building space, because I need that space to build, but it will also just protect them a little bit. Now you can see why we're going AGTs. Nod starts to throw troops at it. The reason I left the Hand of Nod alive is because it actually shows you when Nod's going to start attacking you and start getting aggressive. You can see the moment they started pumping out troops, I dealt with those troops, then I've got tanks and bikes and buggies in my base. So you can see that that was sort of the warning trigger, the AI switched on, you're going to be attacked very shortly, start producing your advanced guard towers. When you watch Command & Conquer games very, very closely and you watch how the level's been designed, it's very common that you see these opportunities. So of course we're just using our minigunners to pick up the rest. Being very mindful, AGTs are rubbish. This was something I was hoping would be fixed in the remaster, it really wasn't. And you could just see that a couple of AGTs will hold the line, for lack of a better phrase. And we're going to take over these Chinooks, and we're going to make sure that we are in a place to actually utilise them. The very south of the Nod base is actually very exposed, and is why it gives you these Chinooks. The front of the base is very walled off, concrete walls, gun turrets, obelisks of light, you name it, they've got it. But the south of the base, whoever architected that base is probably going to get fired because he did not do a very good job.
Construction complete.
Now we're using sandbags just to extend the build radius a little bit.
On hold. Cancelled.
And I didn't quite get it where I wanted it, so I'm just going to pop another piece of sandbag up.
Construction complete. Cancelled.
And all I was doing there is checking to see if I could build on that tile before I then waited the entire build time of an AGT. You can use the sandbag and just hover it over the tile, then you know you can build on that tile and you can actually use it.
Construction complete. Building.
So I'm walling off in the most annoying and campy way possible, and I love it. This, for me, and I think anyone who played this game when they were young, this is iconic Command & Conquer. You didn't just spam tanks in multiplayer, rush players down, build a million harvesters, and hope for the best. You hid behind a wall of towers while you built your perfect base. And that's exactly what we're doing here. And I like that. I liked doing one of these levels this way. Because you can be very professional with Command & Conquer. You can be very skilled at Command & Conquer especially. The speedruns for these, I may include one in the description. They're absolutely insane and they're so impressive to watch. But they don't reminisce with the iconic Command & Conquer experience, the iconic classic Command & Conquer experience, which was just we built pretty bases, you know. Killing Nod was something that you did when you were bored of your pretty base and you wanted to do something else, you know. So we're gonna pop down a couple of silos. You may have heard the Ava shouting at me a little bit, saying silos needed again and again and again.
Construction complete.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. You got it. Affirmative.
We're putting the rocket soldiers to use. We're just utilizing them to clear up the concrete walls, giving us more silo space. And yeah, we're crawling AGTs forward so that we've got this nice little choke. That gives us plenty of build space plenty of well, area to work with so that we can get all the buildings that we want and we can lay the base out in a nice way.
Construction complete.
I've kind of touched on it in the outro and I kind of already touched on it here. You can do this level way faster. You don't have to camp. You don't have to be a coward like me. But I just, after all the levels that I'd say we've done particularly well, this was nice. This was going back to what was my childhood Command and Conquer experience.
Building.
I'd be very interested to know if any of you have a similar experience. Do any of you play an RTS where actually the way you wanted to beat it was
Building.
slow? It was not, you know, it was not the best way to beat it, and you didn't care that it wasn't the best way to beat it. Or perhaps you went back to it and you looked at it and you realised how easy it is now, but when you were a child it really gave you some troubles and you really struggled with it. You know, I'd be very interested to hear all of those stories from you, because of course this was this game for me, you know. Command and Conquer can be really hard. Once you know all the little tips and tricks, it's quite easy, but as a child it was a very difficult game to learn, a very difficult game to master. Of course, this game is called SimCity 95 nowadays, which, you know, it's just the original titular Command and Conquer. And doesn't that tell you something as well? This game came out in 1995. I was pretty young in 1995, I'm not gonna lie. But I still just have such vivid memories of this game. So, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be utilising a combination of the what are they called? Chinooks. Chinooks! We're going to be utilising a combination of Chinooks and Orcas to help the Nod base and get some troops in there. It's a creative attack, and I've actually never done this attack before. My normal way of doing this is to just get a million mammoth tanks and, in a very heavy losses strategy, just barrel through the Nod front door. But as you can see, a signal flag goes off now that you've got your helipad down. And it actually reveals to you an exposed Brotherhood of Nod landing zone. And that exposed landing zone is what we're going to try to exploit.
Building.
I figured it would be a very interesting attempt at an attack that you could possibly experiment with. This is my first time doing this attack, so I didn't know when I was going into it exactly how I wanted the attack to look or how I was going to execute on the attack in the quickest possible way. But I really did just want to experiment a little bit. And I actually became so fond of this style of playing Command & Conquer that I actually didn't want to min-max it. I didn't want to show you a speedrun strategy or any hugely major glitches. I just wanted to play Command & Conquer for you. And that's kind of what I've done with this level. We've got the PSX level after this, and that's a very silly level that can be done multiple ways again, but there's one way that most people do it, and that's with the special Orca unit, because it's absolutely nutty. So we're using the minigunners just to explore. They're going to reveal to us, and they're going to show us just how weak and exposed the Brotherhood of Nod base is, and then give their lives for the cause.
Lost.
Of course, her saying unit lost,
Construction complete.
iconic, memorable, but not something we particularly care about.
Building.
We know we've lost the units because we threw them away. But the chain link fence is guarding the power plants. The power plants, of course, are very important when a base is powered by an obelisk of light. Anyone who's played Brotherhood of Nod and has tried to spam obelisks knows just how expensive they are, how slow they are, and how much power they actually consume. There's a notorious Brotherhood of Nod covert ops mission that we will be doing where it actually wants you to... It gives you access to the Brotherhood of Light, the Brotherhood of Nod's obelisk of light, but expects you to power it with normal power plants. It doesn't give you access to the advanced power plant, and that is painful. I can tell you that now. But as we can see, the Brotherhood's base is very exposed. There is Tiberium here, so you've got to be careful. The Harvester will come down here, and if one of your rocket soldiers shoots the Harvester, you'll summon the Wrath of Nod, and it can be messy. But this rocket soldier is going to do us a great job, and he's going to open up
Got it.
Not
our
building.
access to the power
Capture.
plants.
Not building.
No.
Capture. Our base. is
That
under
power
attack.
plant was very close to the airstrip, so of course we weren't able to utilize it from a
Not a problem.
as a base defense production facility.
Building.
But the other power plant is out of range, and that's exactly what I want to do with it. I want to use it as build radius for AGT spam. And this is not a way I've won this level before. And you can hear in my voice I'm getting a little bit excited because I really enjoy doing this.
Unit lost.
Because this is classic child plays Command and Conquer. This is not, gamer that cares about efficiency and best way to do things. This is child's imagination. How do I want to win this level after building a nice, pretty base? And I like it. I like this style. I like the idea that you're in the Brotherhood of Nod space and you're messing around with them. You've taken their own buildings and you're building within their radius and you're destroying them with your own buildings. Of course, you couldn't do this to players online. You couldn't do this efficiently at all because it was a nonsense. It was not an effective way to play the game.
Not building.
No player was ever going to let you build 8 million guard towers, and no player struggled to deal with a wall of 8 million guard towers. Everyone just built tanks. Tanks, 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 tanks. Tanks, tanks, tanks. Tanks, tanks, tanks. With the occasional bike buggy rush, but mostly tanks. And yeah, this was just when I was a child. I don't know if anyone else did this playing RTS games, but when I was a child, I used to build these little narratives in my mind. I used to tell stories and build perfect bases, build nice little layouts, and then quite crazily talk to myself as I was building this huge and epic narrative
Our base is
in my
under
mind.
attack.
It's no wonder that I would go on to become a writer. Really, letting my imagination run wild, run free, and just do something different.
Building.
I haven't really talked about this level all that much. I've kind of just done
Construction complete.
a bit of a dump of information about me, so I do apologise for that. The Brotherhood's base is pretty straightforward to take down. Once you're inside, however you choose to be inside, the AI is never all that intelligent at defending itself, and as you can see, the Tiberium that it has to go out to is really quite exposed. So with the Orcas, you can pick off harvesters almost. If I had the 6, we wouldn't be having this discussion. Fortunately, I planned ahead and put these minigunners here. And in no way was it a coincidence that they just so happened to be there. All planned, 100%. Do you believe it? I didn't think so. So, again, hotkeys to quickly select Orcas, and it's also important in the original game, once Orcas take flight, you can't reselect them again in the air unless you have a hotkey. If you've got a hotkey, you can reselect them by pushing the hotkey, and that just gives you a little bit more control. Once they take flight, they can't be caught in a bounding box, a drag box, or anything like that. Slowly whittling away at this SAM site. It's taking quite some time. AGTs are awful. Just continuously 100% absolutely awful. It's the other reason that nobody other than children built these things, because they're just they're terrible. You rally out your defenses to meet the troops, and you take more damage from your AGTs than you deal. You put 2 AGTs next to each other, and then attack them with a flame tank and watch them shoot each other. It's always very entertaining with this kind of low efficiency style that GDI actually had. Their base defenses were very good at infantry, but absolutely horrid at anything else. But it leans to a lot of what the AI does, The Brotherhood, when controlled by the AI, has really potent infantry and it has really potent attacks because it uses flamethrowers properly and stuff like that. It makes them stutter step in a way that a player just really cannot do. And that's quite annoying. And all the AI attacks are very infantry focused. You get a lot of infantry pressure a lot early on. They do attack with tanks as well, but you know, most of the pressure is very infantry focused. So GDI's base defenses best address the issue of infantry. Nod's base defenses are designed to deal with the heavy armor of GDI. Although you do get attacked by grenadiers and rocket soldiers quite often, the Brotherhood of Nod has to deal with mammoth tanks and medium tanks and mobile rocket launcher systems and Humvees and APCs filled with engineers and APCs filled with commandos, and so you've got these powerful, destructive base defenses that really are designed to deal with the enemy. And of course the flame tank's entire design was to counter base defenses. So when you have a flame tank walk up to 2 AGTs and destroy them, it's a little bit annoying to watch, but if you just had one medium tank there, you'd be amazed how much quicker the flame tank actually finds its demise. The unit counter system was never really something that was explained too well. You kind of just learn it as you play. You go, oh well, this is rubbish. Basically grenadiers. Grenadiers, you use anything more than a couple of grenadiers and your immediate response is, well, this is rubbish, because grenadiers are awful. So are flame soldiers in the hands of a player, because they all just blow themselves up, which is an issue that does persist in the remaster. So it's fantastic. It's an authentic Command & Conquer experience. Is getting absolutely decimated by your own units. So we've taken out a lot of the Brotherhood's economy, and I just used the Humvee. It's a very fast vehicle to do a quick scout so that we can rip the base apart. So the Humvee's going to take care of the artillery. Hopefully the AGT's going to take care of the light tank. They normally beat light tanks, but sometimes some really wobbly, funky stuff can happen where the AGT or the light tank places itself in a way that the AGT's shots have to curve so much that it just can't hit them. A couple of shots onto the power plant just to pull the AI over, you know, lure them into my my AGT style trap. We're gonna land even more engineers on the Brotherhood of Nod base. Of course, you can do this way quicker, and if speed is your thing, by all means go for it. But I really wanted this first video back to be focused around what I consider the authentic Command & Conquer experience. I think this is the one that will resonate with most people. I'd be interested if it doesn't. If you played Command & Conquer in a very different way when you were young, if you played Command & Conquer when you were young, I'd be very interested in hearing that and what you have to say about it. It's just a game that I love wholeheartedly. As most of these games are, you know, this is the classic RTS series. We talk about RTSs from the old days, the golden era of that flame tank got 2 AGTs. I just want to point that out. You know, the golden era of RTSs, the Westwood era where they defined this entire genre that would become iconic. You know. I would say that StarCraft 2 was very much or StarCraft Brood War, I should say, was very much the competitive high of RTSs, because of course StarCraft, but it wasn't quite the same as the genre-defining moments of Command & Conquer. that was GDI PSX03. Of course, that mission can be done infinitely quicker with the speedrun strategies available, but we are not committing to speedrunning strategies. They can often be reliant on very heavy glitches and tight execution, which players much better than me can do, but I wanted to do this in a clear that is much more accessible to everyone. Anyway, like, share the video, subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.